resiliency. As an entrepreneur, you absolutely need to have it. I know that it's probably the only reason I'm here, to be honest with you. And that's why I'm excited to have Jason Shen on today's episode as a national gymnast and executive coach. He's going to be diving into why it's important, how it's going to help your business, and how he has overcame so many different things right after we thank our sponsor. Every business needs a book, including yours. Visit freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com today to learn the 7 steps to publish and promote your nonfiction lead and profit-generating business book in 8 weeks. Once again, that's freebusinessbookpublishingcourse.com. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Shen. Jason, how are you feeling today?
Feeling real good, Mario. Thanks for having me.
I I'm so glad you could make it. Resiliency, I think, is something that not a lot of people talk about, let alone think about, because it's just like, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm wrong often. But I feel like society makes it in a fashion where if you do something wrong, it's okay. And as long as you don't talk about it or tell anyone or let them know, even at your own detriment.
Well, it's I think it's natural to just feel bad and then want to hide it, right? Like we want people to think of us as being awesome. And the truth is, what you realize and what I tell people all the time is that when people understand where you failed or where you've fallen short, they immediately trust you more. And when they tell you about something great that they do, you're gonna buy that because they've been upfront that they're not great at everything and they haven't won every single time.
Why is that? Is it the vulnerability piece of it, or is it relatability? Do you think what is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows that everyone's trying to present a positive image all the time. And so when they are surprised to hear someone talk about a failure, they almost think in their minds, like, well, they must be so great that this doesn't even really bother them. And there are research studies that have shown that like waiters or waitresses, when they tell you, hey, don't get this, it's overpriced, it's not that good, they're going to be more willing to trust your recommendation when they say, you know what, but this wine or this dessert, amazing. So it's the same principle at work.
Interesting. That's interesting. In business, it's so important to connect with people and meet them on their level. Why do you think so many people feel they have to put on this nothing is ever wrong front, which is the farthest thing from the truth?
Well, we all are almost in a way impressing ourselves. I'm thinking about how there was Angela Duckworth who wrote the book Grit. She talks about how her dad was a smart guy who's a scientist, but he also like didn't get promoted, and it was sometimes frustrating for him. And he would pick up Angela and her friends at in sixth grade, and he would spend the whole car ride bragging about himself and how smart he was to a bunch of sixth graders, which is sort of silly when you think about it. But in many ways, if we interpret what people are doing when they're telling you something, they're actually talking a lot to themselves, right? When people talk themselves up, it's sometimes to impress you, and you might think, wow, this guy's really just full of himself. But that might actually reveal a deep insecurity, and they almost need to hear themselves say how great they are to make themselves feel like, hey, you know what? I do got I am something. I am somebody.
Where does real power come from?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that real power and real confidence and courage comes from two things. It's one from knowing that you do have what it takes to succeed, and two, that you can deal with the downfall, the fallout. If it doesn't go right, you're not gonna be destroyed, right? Because if you can't accept failure, then you are truly fragile. Can I tell you a quick story about that from my
Please do.
gymnastics experience? So I was on the Stanford men's gymnastics team, which was an incredible experience to compete at the national collegiate level in gymnastics. And we started out my freshman year. We were sort of we were rebuilding as a team. We had a bunch of talent in our freshman class, but it took time to realize that. So our first season, we weren't particularly good. Second season, we came in third, which was a strong showing. Really proud of that. Came in third again my junior year. But then my senior year, we were supposed to compete at home at Stanford It was like a dream come true. The last 2 years, the national championship had been held at the venue that ultimately won the championship. So it's sort of like a given. We won third twice. You know, we've got a new group of people. We're at the top of our game, and we were just obsessed with winning. We were obsessed with getting that gold in the championship. And so every time we did something good, every time we did something bad, we would kind of tell ourselves that doesn't matter. Good doesn't matter. Bad doesn't matter. You got to do it in the finals, right? Which sounds like that kind of go get them hardcore, like let's win at all costs mentality that can drive results. But what happened is we put so much pressure on ourselves that when it came down to the finals, and I put myself in this category, we made some uncharacteristic mistakes. And I'll be the first to tell you, I was the first guy up on the first event. Day one, nailed my routine. Day two, had a fall, you know, and that was it just didn't make any sense. I've been training these skills all season. The parallel bars, I was on one arm and I was just a little bit off and I just kind of crashed. And I got back up and I finished the routine, but I can't help but feel like that set a bad tone for the rest of the meet. And throughout the competition, we had these minor missteps and we ultimately lost by 4/5 of a tenth of a point, 365.85 to 365.4 to our bitter rivals, Oklahoma. These guys, we didn't have a lot of respect for them. We didn't feel like they treated the sport as graciously as we did. You know, that's a little bit of just rivalry for you, but we got second place, which second place any other day, incredible, right? But for us, second place was absolute failure and it really hurt. And you know, we felt bad for ourselves for a couple of weeks. And to talk about resilience, I had blown out my knee my junior year. I had torn all the ligaments in my knee, had multiple surgeries to recover. I was only barely doing a couple events at that point. But what it did give me was the opportunity to compete again. So a lot of my teammates